It's become a renter's market, and everyone is looking for options that are more affordable. When you're shopping around and you finally find that home that just is so perfect, and you click on it and you want to send a message to the owner, just hoping that it's not too late, trying to beat out any others that might snag it before you can. But then you stop dwelling on it because you don't want to be disappointed just in case they don't respond. So you say to yourself, it's okay. What else can I find? And then the messages start coming in. And then you get the message you've been waiting for. But slow down just a second. Scammers are using this method, and it's just a numbers game to them. This is my story of one way they used on me, and surprisingly, it's a lot more common than you think. This is my SoCon life. My current living situation wasn't ideal, and I needed something new to accommodate everyone in my household. Where was I going to find something that was going to be large enough and affordable and not really be a rat trap? Now, I will preface with this, is that I was no stranger to moving or finding new places to rent. Maybe I'd just been lucky in the past, but at least I was familiar with the process. So just like every other time, I hopped online and started looking. I found a few places that were interesting, and I began sending messages. I didn't expect to hear back from most of them, but that's normal. I'll admit I even found a few of them that seemed a little bit too good to be true. But you always hear those stories about people being able to house sit for somebody that actually is some wealthy person, might have multiple homes, and you're just there to hold it down for them, basically. And so it doesn't hurt to ask, right? I started receiving some messages, but not many. For every message that I did get, though, I needed to look it up because I had sent so many messages out, it was hard to track which unit it was attached to. But then I came across a message that was the perfect unit. This was exactly what I was looking for. It seemed to be in a good location. It was well taken care of. The space was enough, and the price seemed doable. And he texted me and went ahead and reviewed some of the other accommodations for it, like the utilities and what the parking situation was like, that the washer and dryer were included. He even said it was pet friendly. And he told me that this was a family vacation home that he needed to have somebody take care of while he was away, and so he figured that he would rent it out. So I'm thinking this is much like the situation I mentioned earlier. When people have more than one home, it's better to try to get some money out of it than no money out of it. That's why they rent it. So he continued to ask me questions about when I plan to move in. I said would be available as soon as next week if possible. And I began to ask him some questions about him being the owner and how to handle maintenance, but he doesn't really answer anything like that. He just continues to move on and ask me when I'm able to move in. Now I'm asking some probing questions to kind of test to see if everything is legitimate, but I'm also trying to do it in a way that doesn't seem to be too intrusive just in case everything is true. So I ask, may I have your first name? And he replies, what for? Not exactly the response you expect to get, right? But I said, so I know what to call you. But if you don't feel comfortable, I understand. Please feel free to ask me anything you would like to know. I'm still trying not to cross that line just in case he is who he says he is. So he says his name is Robert, and then he asks me how many months I plan to stay. I tell him the length of the lease I'm looking for and what my current timeline looks like right now. And then I ask, when would be a good time to set up a time to come view the unit. And he says he would love to show me the unit, but he's currently out of town right now on business. So he wouldn't be available to actually show me the unit. But what he could do is he could send me the address and I could drive by and take a look at it. And then when the payment is confirmed, he could just go ahead and mail me the keys. Now at this point, I'm thinking either this person is a fraud or there's a small language or technology barrier. Not everybody sounds the same through text as they might in person. So I'm inclined to give a benefit of the doubt. But I go ahead and come right out and say it. And I say, that sounds great. But I'm sure you understand when I say this sounds a little uncertain. And he asked me, why would I feel that way? Go ahead, speak freely. And I say, well, it sounds like a scam. No offense if it isn't. And he assures me that it's not and says that he can actually provide proof by showing me the insurance title. I asked to see if there's anyone else in town that can actually show me the unit, but then I think it's probably just better to talk directly versus text. So I ask him if he can get on a quick call. And then he sends me this long text about how this is 100% legitimate and that there's no reason for me to feel skeptical. He even goes on to tell me that he knows how hard people work for the money and would never try to take advantage of somebody over money. And then he even tells me that he is a man of God and begins to quote scripture. So after that, I ask again if he can get on the phone. Now I'm thinking this is 99% sure that this is a scam. And I'm just kind of curious to see how far it goes. So we actually do get on the phone, and I begin to talk with him in a very friendly manner. And he kind of goes over some of the things, some more of the details. But I also want to fill in some little bit of small talk to kind of build up any kind of rapport that there might be. And knowing that he told me before that his name was Robert, I asked, so, do you go by Rob or Bob? And there was a long pause. I think I caught him off guard by that question. But then he says, Rob. And I go, well, it's very nice to talk to you, Rob. Shortly after he and I are still chatting, the connection gets bad, and so the call ends up dropping. And I think I even tried to call right back, but I couldn't get through. And then he texts me saying the network is bad. I guess the connection was bad wherever he's at. So, but he continues to text with me, and he says that he can actually send me a photo of the insurance title. And so he does. And I look at it, and it kind of seems to match his claim, but I'm already, aware that this is fully a scam, so I continue to play along. I ask for him to send me the address and tell him that I can go by and check out the place this week. And then he tells me that he can actually schedule his secretary to come meet me. And I go, okay, great. What's her name? What time did you have in mind? And he says that, he tells me the name, and it says that she can be there at 5:30. And I go, okay, well, great. So where do I meet her? He then tells me I need to pay a $50 application fee to schedule the tour. I immediately jump on this and say there should be no fee just for a tour. But if I end up submitting an application, I'll pay the application fee. He tells me that this has to do with some of the logistics and that he hopes I understand. I said, I've rented from multiple places, from multiple sources, and I've never had to pay a fee just to see the place. He then breaks character and the facade and says, can you lend me $50, please? After that, I immediately hung up with him, and then I never blocked the call, and I never heard back from him again. But at least now I know that my awareness was heightened, and I knew what I might be up against in case I ever came across another scammer that might be out there trying to do the same thing. So that's it. Do you see what happened during the scam? I would say that he wasn't a very good scammer, but he's definitely experienced. I can only imagine that he's probably done this hundreds or maybe even thousands of times, and he's probably just sitting in some room full of others that are doing the exact same thing on the other side of the world. Now, the reason I say he's not a very good scammer is that good scammers will try to capture your emotions. And he tried to do this by invoking his faith in God and trying to make me believe that he would never do such a thing because he knows how hard people work for their money. But this is exactly, the people that he targets are the ones that are more susceptible to this. And usually that's elderly folks, unfortunately. And all it takes is just being able to tug at their heartstrings. And those are the people that are usually more inclined to follow along. The other thing to notice is he tried to validate his claim by showing proof. In this case, it was the insurance title, but that can be much more easily acquired than you might even think, and it can be done without the true owner even knowing. But I was suspicious of him earlier on, which is why I was asking questions more about how he would answer those questions versus what the actual answers were. So I was able to evade this scammer, but not everyone does. So be sure to ask those questions to make sure that you don't end up on the wrong side of the deal. It's always better to avoid a legitimate claim than to end up on the wrong side of one. But tell me about your encounters. Have you ever seen a rental property that was just too good to be true? And if you were lucky enough to actually find that dream situation, I want to hear about that too. We want to be able to build this community to protect the innocent and help the victims. Likes and comments are always welcome to help boost the algorithm and awareness. We will have more videos and stories coming soon, so subscribe and click that bell to get those notifications. We'll see you next time.